Good evening everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been quite a while since I've made a video due to surgery recently. I haven't been doing much driving, I haven't done any motorcycle riding, and so this is a video I've been thinking about for quite some time. And recently I was talking to a friend of mine on Facebook, we were doing a Facebook conversation, and I was telling him about my Diecast models, and he said, hey, I'd like to see some pictures. And so I thought, well, instead of making pictures, why don't we make a video? So here we are. Let's make a video about my Diecast car models. Thank you. So this is my glass cabinet where I keep all of my models, or at least this is where a very large section of the collection is kept. Bottom shelf there is just a hodgepodge of different machines, as is the second one. There's some F1 cars in there. And the third shelf is a few different models to look at. But the upper shelves, they are all Jaguars, and that is my favorite brand of car, the Jaguar. And so I'm going to do some shots in here, and then we're going to look at some of the Jaguars a bit closer up in person. So here on the bottom shelf, as you look, you can see there's all sorts of different trucks and just odd sorts of cars really. There's a couple of Rubbermaid cars there. There are NASCARs. My wife worked for Rubbermaid for a while, so I got the two NASCARs, and there's Rubbermaid racing trucks. Up here, we've got a few Formula One cars. Some of them I've made, some of them I bought as diecast. I sort of collect all sorts of things. There's a London bus for a Christmas tree ornament. A few more F1 cars at the end there. And we're going to get closer to these. There's some pretty cool Porsches in there. We will get them out and look closer. But again, just odd cars. There's a Ford Capri. I always love the Ford Capri. In there, you can see there is a green TR7 convertible. I made that model. It was a hardtop. I converted it into a convertible, and it's almost exactly the same color combination of my own TR7 I had many years ago. And in the very corner there, you can see one of my all-time favorite motorcycles, Ducati. It's a 917, beautiful machine. And I have a thing about the Disney movies cars, so there's a lot of cars in there. So that's the bottom three shelves, and we will get a few closer looks at those. But then we come up here and we get to where the Jaguars are. There's a couple of Ferraris in there as well, but mostly all Jaguars. Again here, mostly all Jags. Well, in fact, all Jags up here as we carry on climbing. Some Lego Jaguars. And some more here, but we are definitely going to get a bit close up. So that gives you an idea of the collection. And now we're going to get a little closer so we can see a few of them close up. Okay guys, so this is where I'm going to be doing my videos. I've got a kitchen table, I've got my Jaguar flag behind there. Some of the cars, there'll be lots of the cars on the table at the same time, we'll just talk briefly about them, and then some of them will be individual. It's a video for nerds, it really is. This is I just have a love for cars. I've loved cars since I was a boy. I've been collecting them forever. I've got boxes and boxes of them, but these are just some of my favorites. I hope you'll stick around, I hope you enjoy it, and let's get started. So first up on the table is some Formula One cars. It's just a small collection of them. I have actually many. Starting off with this one, which is actually one of my favorite Formula One cars. The first Grand Prix I ever went to was 1986 in Brands Hatch in England, and Nigel Mansell was driving that car. It is the FW11 Williams, Canon Williams, beautiful car, and that's where I got my love for Formula One. Next to that we have a Ferrari, Michael Schumacher, and over here the Lotus Camel livery of the Lotus that Ayrton Senna drove. I did get to see Ayrton Senna in person racing a few times. I wish I had the black JPS, which would be far more apt for a Lotus, but that's a beautiful car. And then over here, the Schumachers, Ralf Schumacher in his Williams, and Michael Schumacher, championship winning Ferrari. So that's just a few of the F1 cars for you. So as a boy, I always used to buy the Matchbox cars. I've just got a couple now. They still do make Matchbox. But most of the cars I find here in the US are Hot Wheels. And I'm always looking for Hot Wheels. In fact, my local grocery store stocks Hot Wheel cars. And whenever we go shopping with the wife, she drives her nuts because I go digging through the Hot Wheels bin and see what I can find. So in the middle there's some Jaguars, a couple of Lotus Formula One cars, and another Ford Escort. And then here, Ford Capri. Always loved the Ford Capri growing up. One magnificent car. And an old BMW 2002. Great old cars. And in the end they're Land Rovers. I've got to think they're Land Rovers too. Anyway, there's just a very, very small selection of my Hot Wheels and Matchbox. So here's a small collection. I'm absolutely love the Pixar, now Disney movie franchise of cars. And I've been picking these up wherever I find them. Sally there, I've got a couple of Sallys. That green one is an E-Type. The blue is a Mustang, and the Mini there, that's part of the TV crew. And then of course you've got the F1 car, and there's Lightning McQueen with the Ferrari pit stop, Luigi and Guido, I think his name was. And of course, another Lightning there. Oh, actually that's not Lightning, that's the Michael Schumacher when he went to get new tyres in Cars 1. This is a great thing. And that is of course Lightning McQueen. But from the Cars movie, I absolutely love that movie franchise. Fantastic. Okay, moving away from the diecast just for a moment. There's a couple of oddball models I have in my cupboard here. This here is an Airfix model. It was TR7, registration KAV532W. That was the registration of my TR7 when I lived back in London quite a few years ago. This originally was a hardtop, but I cut the roof off, converted it into a convertible. That was the green, very close to the green that I had, and it was a two-tone beige interior. I've always loved the TR7, always loved that particular car. I've been searching for it for years, but the registration hasn't been registered in England for a long, long time, so I think that car found the scrap heap a long time ago. And next to the TR7 here, one of my all-time favorite motorbikes. The brand Ducati, which I absolutely adore. Not my favorite brand, but a brand that I adore nevertheless. This is the 916, which is a phenomenal machine. Incredible lines, incredible style. And just love that bike. Let me turn around so you can see it from the back here. What an amazing bike. Never ridden one. I would like to. I think it would be incredibly uncomfortable to ride, but I'll get my creaky boned body on it somehow and take it for a ride, and that is an absolute certain. But that's just two little oddball models I have in my glass cabinet. Okay, another totally oddball collection. It's just got 3 of these cars. These are, I think they're made of pewter, I'm not absolutely sure. But they show fingerprint sank turbo. That there is a Porsche 911 Turbo S. Right here we got the Porsche 911S. I think it's the 911S, let's have a look. Carrera S, yep. And then over here, which I think is my favourite of all Porsche sports cars, the Cayman S. Also GT4 would be amazing, but I've always loved the lines of the Cayman. I think it's a beautiful car. Maybe one day I'd like to have one, but I have driven some and they are truly spectacular. But that's just a little oddball collection, just those 3 cars. I got them while I was working at the Porsche dealership in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Very limited edition. You had to get them through the Porsche dealer, and I just happened to have those 3. Okay, so that's some of the oddball cars, some of the Hot Wheels, some of the Disney cars. Next we're going to get into the real bread and butter of the collection, which are my favorite cars, the Jaguars. And I got small scale up to big scale, and we're going to go through a few of them. And I'll show you what is my all-time favorite Jaguar. So stay with me, here we go. Okay, so first up here we got the little Hot Wheels size cars, and there's a few here. I've got an XT120 right there is a great car. That's an old D-Type, but by the colours it's the Ecos Racing Team, which is a Scottish-based race team. And then right there of course is the Austin Powers E-Type, part next to another E-Type, which is the coupe. I call them E-Types. Most people in America call it the XKE. Call it what you will if you wish. Over here, a couple of great cars. So in the middle is the XK, that's the aluminum bodied XK. And they're a wonderful car. I'd like to have one of those. I've driven quite a few of them. And of course the XJ220, I've got 2 of those there, which are tremendous cars. Over here, the Jaguar F-Type, that's the Project 7, which is a very limited edition F-Type convertible with the 560 horsepower engine, I think it was. I never got to see one in the flesh, as it were, but they are beautiful cars. I do lose track of what I have, so I often end up having replicas of machines I already have. So this one here, this XJ6 Coupe, I actually have two of those. That one's out of its package, the other one is still in the package. And there's an old XJ, no, actually I think that's an XJ40, which is a late 70s, early 80s car. It's a bit worse for wear. And over here, the most modern of the little cars, the I-Pace, the electric car. I must say I'm not a big fan of electric cars, but I did get to drive a few of these, and they were impressive. They were fast, just no character. A Jaguar, one thing a Jaguar has to have, it has to have some character. But that's the smallest scale of Jaguars I have. We'll start there, and then next we'll look at some more, so stay tuned. All right, so this next section here, this is a very a little collection that I really do enjoy. These were only available through the Jaguar dealerships, and I've got some new cars and some old cars. So let's look at right here, a Jaguar XE, which is a small sedan they came out to challenge the BMW 3 Series. Very nice car, not quite the sales success that Jaguar was hoping for. Then of course the F-Type, that's the F-Type S convertible, amazing car. When they launched these, I was working at Jaguar dealership in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and when Jaguar launched these, they took our salesman up to Indianapolis to drive them and learn about them, and I got to drive that car on Indianapolis Speedway, which was incredible fun. Another E-Type. You'll notice I have a lot of E-Types. I have a real love for the E-Type Jaguar, and we'll talk about that more a bit later, but I do love the E-Type. And then there's a C-Type. Beautiful car. And then an XK, I think that's a 120 coupe. Beautiful car indeed. And then there is another E-Type in red this time. Beautiful cars, they really are beautiful cars. And then this one here is really pretty cool. Again, this was only available for the Jaguar dealerships through the parts department. Got a D-Type race car, XKE, and then a F-Type, all on one little one collection. But fabulous cars, look at that, just lovely. But there's some more. I have to put this one out because this is such an amazing little car. Beautiful interior. Look at that white leather interior. Well, not plastic, but you know what I mean. That white leather interior is just exquisite. It is, of course, two pipes at the back, so you know that's a V6. It's a V6 S model. But lovely. I drove a lot of those, and I really enjoyed driving them. So that's that little section there. So let's go see what's coming up next. Well, just as I was putting that last section of cars back, I forgot I missed this one out. So I'll bring this one out here because this is another one that was only available for the Jag dealerships. It is, of course, the electric car, the I-Pace. Again, I did drive some of these, and they were fast. Not particularly inspiring to drive, I don't think. It definitely wasn't not what I would call a real Jaguar, but it was good, it was clever. But I don't know, I'm not sold on electric. I like to have a proper internal combustion engine up front making noise and producing torque. But that's an I-Pace, great little car. So, okay, so this set here, this is an interesting set. I only have 6 of these cars. I think there's meant to be 12 in total, but they are made from pewter. And if I remember, they were the Danebury Mint. Yes, see that? They were Danebury Mint. I started collecting this in England before I moved to the US. This is a 1966 420G, which is a big 4-door saloon, or sedan, as you like to call them here in the US. And then this one here. XK120, 1951. They're beautiful cars, they really are. I wish I'd had the entire collection, but I'd say I left the UK to come and live in America before I finished collecting it. 65 E-Type fixed head. Just spectacular. And here we have a C-Type, which was from 1951. And then the D-Type, which is a magnificent looking car. 1954 Jaguar D-Type. And the last one I have here, this is the SS100. This is before Jaguar was even known as Jaguar. They were the SS Motor Company. This is 1939, SS100. And they changed their name following the war from SS, which was Swallow Sidecars, which is the name of the company. Swallow Sidecars, which is SS. They originally made sidecars for motorcycles. And that was one of their cars they made. And then after the war, they changed their name from SS. Wouldn't have been good to have them called SS with the German Military Association. So they changed the name from SS to Jaguar. And magnificent. So anyway, that's I wish I'd had the full collection, but I only have 6 of them. But I keep looking. Maybe I'll find some one day, but I don't know if they ever made it to the US, so probably quite difficult. Okay, here's my next set. So these are not particularly expensive. They're sort of cheap, almost cheap little toys, really. That's an old XK. There's that green, although I don't think that car ever came in that metallic green. An XJ220, which for the longest time was the fastest Jaguar of all time. Had a V6 turbo engine. Monster of a car. I've never seen one for real. I've only seen pictures and models. Oh, one of my favourites there. The XJS convertible. I always loved the XJS. Almost bought one for a while. I drove one around for a few weeks thinking about it, but ended up not buying it and ended up actually selling it to a guy in Holland. We exported the car out to Holland. This is an interesting one. So, this is from the James Bond film, and I can't remember the name of the James Bond film, but it's an XK8. And it's what the bad guys are driving on the ice up in Antarctica. James Bond was driving the Aston Martin, the bad guys were driving this. And I've actually seen one of these cars for real, because at the Jaguar, one of the Jaguar headquarters in Atlanta, they have a small museum of cars, and they had one of them in there, so it was really cool to get really up close. You can see the rockets in the front of it there. Amazing little car. Great movie too. And of course the XK. I've always loved the XK coupes. Amazing cars. The XJR particularly is an absolute brute of a car, but great car. And the last one, this one I really like. I've never seen one in real. It is of course the Project 8, the SV Project 8, based upon the Jaguar XE, although there's very few panels from the actual road-going XE to this one. And this took over the mantle of the fastest Jaguar of all time when they brought this one out. But what a great car that is. I'd love to see one for real. Maybe one day we'll see one. But that's the Project 8. So that's that little sketch there. And let's go see what else we can find to show you. Okay, so this is an interesting car. This is, I don't know if we call it a prototype or a design exercise, call it what you will. It was the XK180. It never got made, never got built, but it was the predecessor to the XK8 that came out late 80s, if I remember rightly. But a very cool design, the interior there. Very cool design car. Close those doors up. And the front has a great look to it too, and you can see the XK8 look in the front there of that grille, very reminiscent of what finally came out. But that's the XK180. That there's my leaper. That is a real leaper that came off the front of a car, but I got it and I had the bottom part cut off, so I keep that in my cupboard as well. So anyway, that's the XK180. Next up is another XK8 or XK. I don't think they called them XK8s. I think they were just XKs. This was the aluminum bodied car, the first of the aluminum XKs. And when I was at the Jag dealer, I did get to drive quite a few of these. They're really exquisite cars. And you can still find them around. There's some really good prices. Shame thing about Jaguars, they don't really hold their value. And if you know much about Jaguars, anything with a V8 is actually a very reliable car. I have no problem buying one of these with 100,000 miles on it, and you get lots of enjoyment from it. But that's the XK. Wonderful car. Okay, so next we're going to get really up to date. On the left here, this is the Jaguar XF. This originally came out in 2009. This has a V8 engine in it. It started out with a 4.2 V8 and then ended up with a 5.0 V8. So this is a 2009. Beautiful cars, they really are. They drove incredibly well. I actually had a 2012 model myself, which had the 5-litre engine in it. It was a beautiful car, I absolutely loved it. Until one Sunday morning, a drunk driver in his Mustang sideswiped me and absolutely totaled the car. I was devastated because I love that car so much. But that's the XF. And next to it over here, we have the final rendition, as it were, of the Jaguar XJ, which was again was an incredible machine. A lot of people didn't like the styling at first, but I thought it had a great look to it, and the interior was exquisite. It would massage you while you drove down the street. 5-litre engine, V8, or a 5-litre supercharged engine. The supercharged was an absolute rocket. I mean, it really was an incredible car. Full pano roof as well, full glass roof. But it was a magnificent car, the XJ. I did enjoy it whenever I got a chance to drive one. After a while, they changed both of these cars. They went to V6s, and then eventually on the XF, they went to a 4-cylinder, which was just horrendous. I don't know why they did that. That really was the beginning of the end of Jaguar, in my opinion, when they started getting rid of the V8 engine. But anyway, that's the XF, and that's the XJ. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in on this here. Like I said, I worked at Jaguar of Chattanooga. I was a salesman for 10 years at that dealership. Absolutely loved working there. Amazing dealership, selling wonderful cars. We had Jaguars, we had Land Rovers, and we had Porsches. And that was a billboard that we had on show around the city. And the billboard company let me have that as a souvenir, as it were. It's very cool. Right, what we have here, this is a Jaguar Formula One car. This was Mark Webber who drove this car. Some of these models I bought at places where I remember where I got them. This one came from the Jaguar merchandise stand at Indianapolis when the Formula One US Grand Prix was held at Indianapolis. And so they had this there and I bought it. It was beautiful. Beautiful F1 car. It never really did anything though. They did score some points, but they were never competitive. It's a shame. It was Ford. But it was Ford. It was a marketing exercise for them, really. It was just Ford racing, but they did it as a Jaguar. But beautiful car. It always looked good on the track. And incidentally, if you're interested in Formula One, the Jaguar team is what became the Red Bull team. Red Bull bought the Jaguar team, and they went on to incredible success with Sebastian Vettel and with Max Verstappen. An incredible team with huge success. But originally they were the Jaguar team, and that was the Jaguar Formula One car. Okay, so now we're going to come up to a couple of Jaguar cars that I always liked, but was never totally convinced that they were pure Jaguars, particularly this one here. Let's start with this one over here. This is what was known as the Jaguar X-Type. It was a small car based upon the Ford Mondeo, which was a Ford that was sold in Europe. And it was a nice car. Had a 4-cylinder engine. I think you could get a V6 on it, but I'm not absolutely sure. I think it was the last Ford with a stick shift. Last Jaguar with a stick shift. It was a nice car, but it wasn't really a Jag as far as the enthusiasts would call it. It was too Ford. Incidentally, interestingly, the very first Jag I ever sold when I was working at a Jag dealership was one of these. I sold an X-Type, was my very first Jag sale. Anyway, that's the X-Type. And over here we move on to the S-Type. Now there's a couple of renditions of this car. I thought the V6 was very poor. I didn't really care for the V6. the V8 was much better, and the V8S was a really good car. This was the pre-facelift car, so it had the, what I call the horrible interior. Then they went to a proper Jaguar interior. But if you get this with the V8 and the supercharged V8, which would have been the V8S, that was a hot car. Nice design, very old in that it reminded me of the old 60s Jaguars. And the front most definitely had that old look from the 60s. But steer clear of the V6, but the V8S, nah, that's a hot car. That was a fun car to drive. But that's two of the more modern cars. Okay, so next up, a very special Jaguar. I wish it was silver, because I think most of these cars are silver. But this is, of course, the XJ220, which I think is an incredible car. I've never seen one for real, I've only ever seen them in pictures. And models, of course. But this was a supercar in every sense of the word. Top speed of 217 miles an hour. They rounded that number up to 220, and that's where it got its name from. The XJ220. What a magnificent machine it was. V6 turbo, rear engined. They go for big money now. Occasionally one will come up for sale, but they are millionaires' cars, no doubt about it. What an amazing machine. That's the XJ220. Okay, next up, XJS, and this is the XJS with the V12 engine. I always thought these were incredible cars. This one sadly has a broken back wheel. But I actually have another one. I have two of these, one in a box and one here that's in my glass cabinet. But amazing cars. I do think let down by the transmission. It had a 3-speed GM transmission in it. A stick shift on that V12 would have been exquisite. The Jaguar E-Type with the V12 did have a stick shift. That came out, this car replaced that. And I think this car with a stick would have been incredible. But that's the XJS. And then right here we have the Jaguar XK8. So on the left here, the green one, that is an XK8. Naturally aspirated V8, 4.4 litre. And this here is the XKR, which had the 4 litre supercharged engine. The green one's particularly special to me because I actually own one of these cars. It's my daily driver. I had it about 10, 12 years now, and I really do enjoy it. It's a beautiful car. It's an old car, it's got plenty of problems with it, but it starts every time I start it, and it always gets me where I'm going. Lovely interiors, look at that. All that wood. You can tell the naturally aspirated engine from the supercharged engine because of the grills in the hood. They've also had had mesh in the front holder. Beautiful cars though. And the supercharged ones are now actually a little bit sought after. Getting harder and harder to find, but magnificent cars, both of those. All three of those cars are magnificent actually, but beautiful. Okay, so next we come right up to date. This is one of the last Jaguars to be made. It is, of course, the Jaguar F-Pace SUV. All-wheel drive, and tremendous cars, they really were. This is the S model, which was the V6, 380 horsepower model. They later came out with an SVR, which had the 500 horsepower V8, which is a tremendous machine. But this was a nice car, but it could have been better. I always thought Jaguar got the rough end of the stick because SUVs, that's Range Rover's deal. And these two companies are joined at the hip. And I've always thought the Range Rover Velar was a better car, and it should have had this Jaguar should have had the interior of the Velar. But nice car. So here's the interior of the F-Pace. And it was a very nice car, and it drove incredibly well. But I was never really impressed with the interior of it. If you look at the Range Rover Velar, that had a much, much nicer interior. And I always thought that interior should have gone inside this car to make the Jaguar really quite special. But as good as the F-Pace was, I do think Jaguar missed the boat on this car. It could have been so much better. Okay, so we're going to go old school again. This is from 1959. It is the Jaguar Mark II. And my word, what a beautiful car this was. Again, this is one that has a special meaning because I bought this one actually at the toy shop on Regent Street in London called Hamley's. I believe it's one of the biggest toy shops in the world. I think it's on 5 or 6 floors. And I was in London for a visit, and I had my young children with me. They were very young at the time, and we went to the toy shop to buy them a special toy from London, and I had to get myself one too, and this is what I came home with. But it's the Mark II. If you watch old English TV shows, the bad guys in the cop shows always drove one of these. That's what the baddies drove. Beautiful. Beautiful car, one of my favourite Jaguars of all time. One of, not the, but certainly one of. That's the Mark II Jaguar. All right, next up, two very, very old Jaguars. I'm going to push this one back, pull this one forward. This is, of course, the 1939. It is the SS100. I showed you an SS100 earlier. This is a much bigger scale one. Amazing little car. Very, very valuable now. This was before Jaguar was known as Jaguar. They were still SS cars. What an amazing little machine this was. Supposedly it was called SS100 because it would do 100 miles an hour. Previous to this they had the SS80, which would do 80, and then they had a 120. But this is the SS100, and it's so beautiful. Definitely a museum piece if you see one for real. And then over here, look at this one here. XK140. What a machine. What a car you expect to see Clark Gable driving in one of his old movies. So beautiful. And look at the interior on this one. Of course it's plastic, but you get the idea. That was a lot of wood and a lot of leather. What an incredible car. XK140. Okay guys, so I'm almost at the end of the video. I've got 3 more Jaguars to show you, which would be, well, 2 of them are my almost favourite Jaguars of all time, and then my favourite Jaguar of all time. But before I reveal those, just going to show you a few also memorable cars that I want to show you that are in my collection that I didn't include already because they're just oddballs, but they're beautiful, beautiful cars. I want to show them to you. So first up here is a Ferrari. I absolutely love Ferraris. Of course, they're dream cars. Normal people never get to afford to buy a Ferrari. And if you could afford to buy one, the chances of affording to run one are completely different. But this has always been my absolute favourite Ferrari. 288 GTO. What a magnificent design. I just love this car. I've only ever seen one time. They're very rare. But they are absolutely stunningly beautiful. Love that car. And then, who doesn't love a Volkswagen camper? What a great old vehicle these were. My dad always wanted one. He never got one, but he always wanted one. I still love them. You see them occasionally. Great old vehicles. I think one of the best machines to ever come from Germany. It's so beautiful. And I did mention earlier, I'm a bit of a Land Rover guy. So we got the new Defender and the old Defender side by side. Magnificent machines. I'd love to have either, to be honest with you. I really do. I've got a good friend who has a 4-door Defender. I think it's a 59 or a 69. It's an old one, but it really is beautiful. And then who doesn't love James Bond's Aston Martin DB5? What an amazing machine that is. This is the James Bond car. It's got the removable top on it with the flak. I've had this quite some time. It does work, all the little triggers work on it. I don't play with it much. Beautiful car. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a bit of a Formula 1 fanatic. And so that is a special one for me because that's a Formula One Ferrari. It's radio controlled. My daughter bought it for me for Christmas because she knows how much I love them. And I do play with it occasionally. I get it out and just run it around. I'm very careful not to hit the walls of it because I don't want to damage it. But Ferrari and Formula One, they are one and the same. You can't have Formula One without Ferrari. You can't have Ferrari without Formula One. So anyway, that's just a few oddballs. Next up, we are going to get to the end of my Jaguar, and we're going to see what my favorite Jags are. So here we go. Okay, guys. So we are down to our final 3 Jaguars, of which 2 of them are right here. And these are, in essence, my second absolute favorite Jaguar of all time. It is, of course, the Jaguar E-Type. We have a soft top convertible, and of course we have the coupe. So let's start over here. This is the 3.8 litre 6-cylinder triple carburetor car. It's a Series 1. I'll close that hood there. There is something very special about an E-Type. You don't see them that often. There's plenty of them around, but you don't see them that often. People keep them in their garages. Most of the time they do drive them, but they're careful with them because they're getting old. This is a 64 or 65, I believe. Just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful car. That's the coupe. Sorry, that's the convertible. I have to be honest with you. I love the coupe. That is the original E-Type. That's what first came out. That's what Williams Lines drove, or rather designed. That was what it designed. That's what Enzo Ferrari said was the most beautiful car of all time. I love how the back door opens. Look at that. How cool. What a great design. I drove my first Jaguar E-Type. I was probably about 17 or 18 years old. A friend of mine had a V12 Series 3 coupe in light blue, very similar to this. And one day he just tossed me the keys, said, "Do you want to drive my car?" And up to that point, the only Jaguar, actually the only car I'd ever driven was a Datsun to do my driving license in. And he tossed me the keys to this V12 4-speed Jaguar coupe, and I drove it around West London for the whole night, and I was in absolute heaven. What an amazing machine. And since that day, I've always loved the E-Type. Magnificent machine. And there will be another video about E-Types quite soon. You just have to hang on for a bit, but there is a video coming on E-Types, and I'm excited about making it, but you just have to hang on for a bit. That's the E-Type, my second all-time favorite Jaguar. So what is my favorite Jaguar? Let's take a look. So what is my favorite Jaguar? Well, here it is right here. It is, of course, the Jaguar XK SS. Only 14 of them were ever made. Steve McQueen had one of these cars. So that shows you how cool the car is that Steve McQueen had one. There's 14 of them. Meant to be 25, I believe. But they had a fire at the factory and only 14 of them got made. But since then, Jaguar has gone back and built the remaining cars. But it is a stunning piece of car. Look at the design of that thing. It is so beautiful. I've never seen one. I've only seen them in pictures. I'd say there is only 14 of these cars in the world. They're extremely rare. If I won the lottery, this would be the car I would look for. But you would have to win the lottery. I mean, these are multi-million-dollar cars. But God, what a car. I love that thing. XK SS. What a machine. That is my all-time favorite Jaguar. So there you are. We come to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. So there we are. Thank you for watching my video. Oh dear, that shouldn't be there, should it? Let's get rid of that. I had to polish the cars before I videoed them because they sit in my glass cabinet and they get dusty. So my favorite XK SS sitting right there. What a machine. Maybe one day, who knows, luck will look on me and I'll win the lottery and I'll buy one, but chances are very, very slim. But I do thank you for watching this video. I did say at the beginning it was going to be a video for nerds. It's just toy cars. I just love toy cars. I love cars. I love cars. I love motorcycles. I could make another video of motorcycles. I got a huge box in my garage full of model motorcycles, and I may even make a video about it because that's another love of mine. I love motorcycles. But thank you for watching. There'll be more videos to come. Appreciate you being with me. In the meantime, please stay safe, and see you all again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.